Hello and welcome to my first podcast. My name is Max Ruck and you are listening today to Don't Beat Yourself Up. You can only control one person. This podcast is about my journey from mediocrity to mastery, my learnings along the way, tips, tricks and exercises to get ahead faster, which will make this your shortcut to your own mastery. Today, I would like to share a story we most likely have all faced in our lives. It is when we set a date for a specific event, for someone to help us or something else, many weeks in advance. And then that person or that group of people cancels on us last minute, and we almost already arranged things around that event, around that date, to make that event happen. If it's moving to a new apartment, or if it is a party we have organized to thank everybody to have helped us on a previous event or a previous date, or just to get together with friends again. And that can be really annoying, and I can imagine we have all faced that, and we are not sure how to deal with it, or we sometimes are really angry at that specific person, that specific group of people, or even at ourselves that we haven't checked in on them prior to a couple of days before they could cancel on us. But to be honest, that's something which can happen to all of us. And I mean by that, something can come into our lives which has more importance than something we have maybe agreed on weeks before, or we have said yes to helping a closer friend, or helping out in a job or on a project because we haven't thought of it, that what we have agreed on weeks before was at that weekend or at that specific date. So we shouldn't be angry at other people if they have to cancel on us last minute, because at the end of the day we always should look at and look out for ourselves first and foremost. Nobody will look out for us if we don't look out for ourselves. So that's really important, to make sure you are your own most important person. And therefore we should be grateful. And if someone cancels last minute, we should never put on pressure or guilt onto them to make them change their plans or make it to the event or help us out. Guilt will never develop a relationship or make it better or stronger. So in order to stress less, I would like to give you a few calmness rules I have used, and I think they are really helpful. So imagine that situation and people around us. If we are the ones always smiling more, it's very hard not to be angry at us. Imagine that person who has always the smile on their face. Are you always ever angry at them? You might be annoyed at times because they have always a smile on their face, and you're like, how can that person be always that happy? But try it yourself. Just sit there, look at the mirror and try to smile. Do that for a couple of minutes and you will see how you feel more happy. If you look how does a sad person look? They have their shoulders down, they're breathing really narrow, and they don't smile. So do you want to be that sad person, or do you want to be that happy person? So if you want to be that happy person, sit straight, have your shoulders up, breathe deeply and smile. And you will see that makes you feel much happier on its own without bringing any events or other factors in place, alone by your posture, your smile, your breathing. That has a huge impact on making you happy and making you calm. So give that a try and you will see how much more calm, relaxed and less stress you will feel on every day in almost every situation. Another rule is, imagine there's an event occurring, let's say your friend cancelled, or maybe even a bad example for that, you're sitting in a traffic jam, nothing moves, the cars don't move forward, not backward, not in any direction. Just say yourself, better than I would have caused the traffic jam, would have been in the accident. I'm be raised now into ER or any like that. Always put the situation you are in perspective. We are always better off with our situation, because there's always a situation worse. So if someone cancels on you, it's way better than they haven't showed up at all. If they cancel an hour, 2 hours before, a day before, it's still better than they don't cancel at all. You can't reach them and you worry about them, what happened. So if you put that into perspective, you will see how much stress that can put off your shoulders and how less emotional you can get in situations you can't control anyway. And what the last rule I would like to give you is, what would I think about it in 10 years? If someone cancels that one time, would you even care about it tomorrow or the next week? So you wouldn't certainly care about it 10 years. If you reflect back on maybe the small things you have, well, for you big things at the time, you have really, really worried about. Now 10 years after, you barely even remember them. If I look back, for instance, I'm actually not sure anymore if it's 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, or even longer. There was like a soccer final from my still favorite football team or soccer team, and they lost the finals, the European Cup finals, or the European Club finals, and I barely was able to sleep that night. I was really down at that night, and when I look back now, I think it was not silly, but at the time it was nothing really I could control, I could influence in any way, or why would I even worry about it? Well, I would certainly have been happy or something, feel some kind of joy if they would have won the game. But because they lost it, nothing really major changed in my life. And looking back now, 2 years later, they won it when I lived in Ireland then. 2 years later, Germany won the World Cup when I was still in Ireland then. And my favorite hockey team won the Stanley Cup twice in a row. So everything comes into place. And if you see it in perspective, there's nothing we really need to stress over. We can always stay calm and analyze the situation, take it with us, and don't over stress on anything we can't control. So from this episode, what I really would like to give you as an advice, which I have learned the hard way during probably the last 10 years, if we overthink every situation, we can never move forward. We can never move out of that situation. It will hunt us down for much longer than it needs to be. It's nothing we can control. So we don't need to overthink that situation. We make a tick on it or cross it off, whatever we want to say to it, put it into a drawer, and don't think over it ever again. It's obviously hard at the moment when it happens to not think of it or stress over it. But when you use those 3 questions and put that situation into perspective, it makes things easier to find importance in any situation, if it's worth it thinking deeply over it or if it's not. And if you use those calmness rules to bring your attention to what is really important, and don't stress over the little things you can't control, you will see you feel much happier, much more relaxed, and much calmer on a daily basis. It will always be hard in the beginning. You have to remind yourself constantly to use those rules, and sometimes you forget them. I do as well. But then sometimes in the evening, when you calm down naturally before you go to bed, you see that how stupid it was to overthink those situations, to stress yourself that much over that situation. So if you can remind yourself of that every day, if it feels yourself hard, to remind yourself, set yourself a timer. Most phones know when you set the timer or set the alarm, you can put titles onto the alarm, and you can use those rules as the titles of the alarm to remind yourself of them. Either way, you will find a way to implement them into your life, and you will see how it will improve your daily stress levels. And therefore, if we stress less over the things we can control, we become more happy as an additional benefit from stressing less and worrying less about things we aren't able to control in any way. Why would we stress over something we can't control, influence, or even if it's a past event we can't change now anyway? Because if you think of it, there's only really one person we can truly control, and that's the person we need to take care of, treat well, and look after with the best care we can. And you know exactly what that person is. That's you. That's yourself. Only ourselves we can control, influence, and make better on a daily basis. And if we are less stressed, more calm, more focused, that's how we get faster to where we want to get. So I want to thank you deeply for listening today. I'm your host, Max Röck, and until